Might get like a bonus episode out of it.
You never know.
Yes, let's
I've
see.
never thought about Flight of the Navigator as a ET ripoff, but I see the parallels. You're now that you mention it.
Yeah, I mean, because ET, because I just showed it to my kids, and well, they already saw ET. Um, and ET came out 1982.
Right.
Flight of the Navigator was 86. And then there's this movie that was more of a ripoff. The one with the creature that kind of looks like ET, but not
Oh,
really.
Mac and Me.
Mac and Me, yeah.
That movie is garbage.
When was it though? Like it was
I don't know.
88. So it came after like Flight of the Navigator. There's like I think they saw Flight of the Navigator and they were like, I mean that's cute and all, but maybe we'll have more success just like blatantly just copying ET.
The
Um
only reason I know about the movie Mac and Me is because of Paul Rudd.
yeah, I guess he's in it.
No,
I
he's
always
not in it.
he's not in it?
No, no,
Oh,
well,
because I saw
not that I
something come up
know of.
about Paul Rudd on the
Yeah.
on
So if you get a chance, just because you'll have a lot of fun watching this, watch the you know montage of clips that people have assembled. Um, Paul Rudd apparently hates talking about his movies. He hates like promoting movies, and they studios want him to go on talk shows and talk about his movies, and so he has this history of taking a ridiculous clip from the movie Mac and Me, and whenever they go to to the point where they're interviewing him and they're like, and you brought a clip today? Yeah. Oh, I brought a clip. Yeah. And then they show the clip. Instead of showing what movie he's supposed to be pitching, he swaps it out for this terrible clip of Mac and Me.
I
And
see.
he did it like 5 times to Conan. And by like the third or fourth time, he's like, listen, I know what you're gonna do, and we're not gonna allow it, blah blah blah. And he's like, I know I was very rude of me. I'm sorry, and then he does it again. And Conan gets even more mad. And then he does like Ant-Man, when he finally becomes Ant-Man in the, like back in whatever year that was, like he's on Conan again, and Conan's like, so you have this history and I'm not going to let you do it. And he goes, Conan, you don't have to worry. He's like, I'm working for Marvel now. You think that Kevin Feige would let me get away with something like that? This is the big leagues, and he's like, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. Roll the clip. And they roll the clip, and it's Mac and Me again. And he's just like, you can see Conan getting furiously angry at him, and he's just like, that's the clip. That's Ant-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because it comes on Google as one of the first Mac and Me like searches. So I guess that's why I thought it was
Yeah.
because like he was maybe like a child actor in the movie or something.
No. Well,
Yeah.
not that I know of. I haven't watched the whole movie, but
No, no.
what I've seen made me not want to watch it.
I mean, I would definitely not remember him in that movie. Uh, but yeah, but like Flight of the Navigator. I mean that one, and I feel like the Never Ending Story. Those are like two movies that, to some degree, like don't get the same prestige, definitely as E.T. and maybe like Willow and Labyrinth, like some of these other movies
Yeah.
from that are more high profile, which I've never. I think I might have seen Willow once. I haven't seen Labyrinth, so and I'm gonna try to see it with the kids. So I'll revisit those to see if their reputation like precedes them or whatever.
Yeah. If the reputation is earned.
Earned, yeah. No, but Flight of the Navigator, even though it gets a little goofy when that the reason why I brought it up is because we're talking about HBO Max, is because he calls him Max,
Oh
like
yeah.
his name to Max, and and then it becomes like this what you call it this Pee Wee Herman type of character,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
whole "see you later, alligator." It gets a little stupid there, but
Yes.
that makes sense because it's not a Spielberg, you know.
And it's a children's film. I mean, you could argue that ET was made to be for everybody, whereas um, and it succeeds at being a movie for everybody. And like Flight of the Navigator was made to be a family film, and it's just good enough that it kind of uh, breaks out of that a little bit. It's slightly better than just an average family film. But yes, obviously, it's got those moments.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like, I mean, still like Flight of Navigator, like there's a lot of serious stuff there with the scientists and all that. Like it feels like it gets a little like a little too real for kids. And
Yeah.
and my kid definitely wept when he was saying goodbye to Max.
Hmm.
Um, and then my younger kid, like my older kid, like he's very emotional. He cries a lot in movies. But the younger one who doesn't cry, he just likes to repeat stuff. So today in dinner, just randomly, we're already like 2, 3 days away from watching the movie. And he's like, "See you later, navigator." Like he does that. So that's always a blast. But have you seen that one, Matt?
I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. Yeah, I
yeah.
It
think
was a
it's on.
classic in my household because it's like a real brother movie.
Yeah, I can see that. The it was it's amazing that I forgot, but I'm trying to remember
Sarah
what it was
Jessica
called.
Parker.
Oh yeah, well she was in it, which I know Matt's not a big fan of, but she's tolerable in it, and she's not
Oh,
in it
very
for long.
tolerable in it. Yeah, it's one of her better movies.
It's probably before she started looking like a foot.
Yeah, she is very
Harsh,
young.
but she is very hot in it. That's true.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Paul Rubens played Trimaxion. He played the spaceship. That's why he
Yeah,
did the whole Pee Wee Herman thing.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, again, I thought it was like a knockoff of like Pee Wee
Oh
Herman.
no, yeah. He's like the voice for
Yeah, I'm very bad at detecting voices. Um, I was gonna say, yeah. So Disney Plus. It was on Disney Plus that we watched it.
Yeah.
Anywho, um, did you have any like movies from the 80's, Matt, that you remember like from your childhood, like fondly?
Jeez.
I mean, even though you were a bit young, but maybe you saw them on VHS or something in the 90's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, Return of the Jedi came out in what, 83 or something, and that's
Yeah.
I wore that VHS tape out like none other. Um, you know, honestly, like when it comes to 80's movies, I think I got into that at a slightly older age, and well, actually, Tim Burton's Batman. I had that movie memorized as a kid. That was 88.
Was it like 89 or like maybe it was
It was
made
89.
88? Yeah, but
I,
it was
I,
basically on the cusp of the 90's. It ushered in, I feel like, the 90's in some
It
ways.
sure did. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that was definitely always one of my favorites. I actually just rewatched it a few days ago. Uh, uh, but yeah, geez. I don't know. Most of my favorite movies from the 80's are the more kind of adult oriented movies.
Because maybe you saw them at a
Blade
later
Runner.
point.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that was a good era for noir, kind of neo noir kind of crap. But uh, yeah,
And so
not a whole lot of kids.
what kind of kids movies did you watch, like regardless of period, or like ones that kind of stuck out? Because I feel like when you're a kid, there's definitely like this phase where stuff really. I can see like if I was slightly older, Back to the Future would have been big for me, but I definitely watched it in the 90's. I feel like.
I did watch um Sleeping Beauty a lot as a kid.
It's a good one.
I think. Um,
Yeah, Disney is
but
big in the US. Diana was that way too. Like she saw
yeah.
a lot of the oldies like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and
Yeah.
some of those like which I've never seen. Like Disney wasn't big in Israel. Like unless you really seek the movies out, you kind of just watch what's on TV, and those were not aired very often. The Disney classics. So I watched all these, like, I guess you would call them sort of like B movies, like the whole Never Ending Story, Flight of the Navigator, Mac and Me.
Yeah, I did watch the Neverending Story at least a few times as a kid. I remember enjoying that. I mean, I remember it well enough that whenever there's a Family Guy reference to it, I get it. But I haven't revisited that in a long time.
It was
I did,
Wolfgang Peterson, right? Directed it,
yeah,
I think.
I
I
believe so.
think it was like his first English movie or something.
Yeah.
I did see Labyrinth, like, I I'm younger than Jennifer Connelly, but like my crush on Jennifer Connelly started as a kid when she was a kid in that movie, and I now I have an adult crush on Jennifer Connelly all these years later. But
No reason
yeah,
not to.
right. But yeah, I mean, she's been. I mean, it's amazing to think how long her career has sustained, and how young she was when she was starting to get into like these really big roles and everything. She's something special.
She
I
was
mean,
in Labyrinth, right?
yeah.
Yes.
She was also in Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah, that one I remember. She was very
Um,
young there.
yeah, but yeah, she's been solid for 40 plus years now.
Yeah, to me the most memorable like female like child actor, but it's probably like Natalie Portman. Like
Yeah,
seeing her in
Which
The
is great.
Professional,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's a pretty big deal.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think of other one. I think Scarlett Johansson was a child actor. No?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a fair amount of them that actually do pretty well into adulthood.
Yep.
Like I will say the women more so than the men, which is the reverse in real life. But like it seems like they age way more gracefully from childhood to adulthood, whereas the Corey Feldmans and some of the male child what's his face from Watchmen.
From Watchmen.
Yeah, the Rorschach.
Oh.
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah. Like some of the, also more recently wow, I'm so bad with names. From Sixth Sense.
Haley Joel.
Yeah.
I
Haley
was
Joel
about to
Osment, like
say,
all of them seems to like
yeah. His face
not
exploded.
yeah, they don't seem to age into their midlife, like 30s and 40s, as well as some of their female counterparts.
Well, you get some. I mean, you get like it's funny. I didn't really see a lot of their early work, but wasn't Jason Bateman a child actor, and wasn't Gosling also?
Yeah, but that's I feel like that's a different category because they were like Disney kids, like they were like TV kids. Although I
Yeah.
think the Scarlett Johansson might have been as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Christian Bale was in
Yeah,
Empire
that's
of the
true.
Sun.
And he was fairly young.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, Elijah Wood's about in the middle. I mean, he he didn't age as gracefully as some of the people you mentioned, but he's certainly not in like horrible shape, like like he didn't look like he went through a massive drug phase or something.
Yeah. The also wow, I'm so terrible with names. Harry Potter.
Radcliffe looks like
Radcliffe.
he got a little I think he was just desperate to find a hard edge, like to start like doing different, break out of his Harry Potter, role, and he just kind of embraced that side. But I don't know. I think he could probably, if he wanted to, could probably clean up and do some pretty traditional roles again if he really wanted to. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he and Elijah Wood suffered a bit from the too small syndrome. Like they're a bit like they just never got butch and big. They just
Yeah.
they always like look like kids, so it's tough to kind of cast them into mature roles in a way. Like it has to be a very specific type of thing.
Well, I
I
think
mean,
that's what happens, right? With Haley Joel Osment, with everyone we just mentioned, those last three, like it helps to be a really, I mean, let's put it this way: you have a longevity as a child actor and into your teens if you can look a lot younger than you actually are, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's extremely common for for them to cast like 20-year-old girls as 16-year-old high school girls in movies, and not even in the silly way we used to in the like the 90s where everybody's like at college age and they just are pretending to be in high school. Like you can find actresses that look like they're in high school with the right, wardrobe and everything. It's very possible. And so you've got that. But with the boys, it's like if you can play a 9-year-old when you're like 12 or something like that, it's like, and then as their career goes on and then they start transitioning to high school roles once they're beyond 18 and stuff, if they have that like boyish face, they can prolong their child acting, career. So I think that it's just a product of the whole system, right? I mean, the ones that are really, really successful tend to have these like young boyish looks to them.
but yeah, no, it's interesting the way like you have to have all these calculations, and you hear a lot about the women talking about like how in their especially Anne Hathaway. Oh, one name I remembered. That she was talking about like how everybody told her like when she's a day over 30 or something that it would be impossible for her to like find roles and stuff. And yeah, it's interesting how like people need to learn how to evolve, like understand that like things don't stay the same, they have to evolve, for most people except for like Tom Cruise who's just
Yeah.
refusing to like let his hairs like go gray. It's like, no, they're black. I'm 60 but they're all black.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ellie, you look like you compare him to someone like Clooney, that
Right.
basically all but essentially stopped making movies. It's interesting, like to think about all these like A-listers, men or female, like you take Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and DiCaprio. They're all fairly like similar in age. Like, I mean, uh, Tom Cruise is a little bit older, but they're and George Clooney too, I think. But they're not they're not too dissimilar, and they're all so different in the route that they chose to take.
Yeah.
Like Tom Cruise with the action movies and DiCaprio with the prestige cinema and like, sticking to like Scorsese like a third
Like a
foot,
motto of flame.
an extra limb. And
Yeah.
So
and
funny. My analogy was so much worse.
okay, what was it?
No. Let's just go on. Let's go on. It was
But
disrespectful.
yeah, and Brad Pitt is also interesting because you feel like he could be doing prestige cinema, and he had a period of like 10 years that he did that, like in the early 2000s. But now it feels like he took a step away from. He's kind of like playing around a bit more, like with
Yeah.
his roles, and yeah, and I think that's all of them. But Clooney is interesting too. Yeah, the fact that like he still does some movies, but he's basically it's like a hobby. Like he's mostly does his whole like I don't know selling alcohol business and philanthropy and being married to his special wife, whatever the whole lifestyle that he's created for himself. It's it's interesting, but it's kind of cool. I mean, it's people that essentially have the world is their oyster, and then they have to pick and choose what to do with their time.
I don't want to derail the conversation, but what's different about his wife that I did not know about?
Oh, well, I mean, I think she's a very high profile. I think she's like she's in the nonprofit, like philanthropy world.
Oh, okay. I didn't
She's
know
almost
that.
like royalty in that world. I'm not sure. I might be completely wrong. You can look her up. But it was almost like a royalty type of
Yeah.
thing to like find her. Sort of like the equivalent of like Schwarzenegger marrying a Kennedy,
Oh.
of sorts. Like like that she's like kind of like well known and she's famous in her own right. Just not
Sure.
as an actor, but as something else, as an activist or something. And it's him kind of like fully committing to that life in a way,
Yeah.
like I'm not just fucking around, like I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk type of thing. That's what
Mm.
I believe, or at least the reports that I heard when the relationship was kind of like ongoing. But I honestly don't follow that stuff very closely, but it's interesting. And that's
I was
that
just
that
curious.
and even though it's not related to movies at all, but it's also interesting, like their love life, like how they go about that. Like Tom Cruise had all these like failed marriages, and I think Brad Pitt is like one failed marriage, but he's like seems like he's kind of like becoming like a DiCaprio, where he's sort of like an eternal bachelor of sorts. Um,
Huh.
so it's interesting. I think I think Clooney is the only one that's settled down. I think all the other three are not. They kind of
Yeah.
like I don't know. And on the, I mean, who you have on the female side? I mean, you have people like Meryl Streep,
Yeah.
um, who age very gracefully, and but you have like other ones that like just took different paths, and trying to think of like other big ones from like that generation.
Well, you got like Jodie Foster, Meg
Jodie
Ryan.
Foster. Yeah, Meg Ryan definitely like I think she just recently directed a movie with the Coveney, but she definitely stepped away from the limelight,
Yeah,
it
she
seems.
did for a while, long while.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what was the other one you mentioned?
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster, which also, I mean, she was also like almost like a hobby, like one foot in the door and one foot out of it. It seems like she was never like in it like constantly. I feel like so she's an interesting character too.
She
Um,
started directing them, as far as I know. I don't know how many movies she's done, but let me look it up real quick.
I mean, to me,
Well,
some of the more. Mm.
she's the lead in the new season of True Detective.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah,
That's fascinating. I didn't see the third one. Did you want to see if that third season was any good?
yeah. The third season was good. The second season, sophomore slump.
Yeah, I
Which
didn't. I didn't finish the second season, but I wanted to see the third one. I just didn't get around to it.
it was kind of a shame. I mean, like Colin Farrell, Rachel McAdams. I mean, like
Oh, I know. I know.
a lot of
It looks like. Sorry. It looks like. Oh, that's TV. Let me see. How many movies has she directed? Jodie Foster made a bunch of television, and then there we go. One, two, three. Looks like four movies that she directed, and then a bunch of episodes of television.
mm. Isn't there like a movie that's coming out with her and someone else?
Yes. Hold on just a moment. I can tell you because I just had that up, and then
With
Naiad.
maybe that's the one, like with another famous actress.
Let me look. Oh, Annette Bening.
Annette Bening. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Um,
I might have said that wrong. It's Niad or Niad. I'm not sure. It's a Netflix movie. It came. Oh, it already came out. Huh. Man, Netflix. They never do big enough releases. It drives me crazy.
yeah. Well, it makes it easier for me to watch it because I don't go to theaters very often.
Well, they can still do a big release and still put it out on their own platform. They don't need to like limit
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah, that's
annoying.
true. Like they should advertise a bit more.
Yeah.
Um,
Said it looks like about a swimmer or something.
yeah, something
Oh
with
yeah,
swimming I saw.
Diane. So Annette Bening is playing Diana Nyad, or I might be totally butchering that name. I don't know. It's Nyad.
I feel like I mean, there's definitely Annette Bening is also for sure, and there's also Sally Field. I feel like it, like stayed fairly high profile throughout the '90s and a
Yeah,
little bit of
Sally
the
Field's cool.
2000s. I mean, she's more like of the Meryl Streep. I feel like generation in some way.
Yes. Yeah. Um, it's funny because Sally Field is somebody who I, as a kid, only saw movies of her when she was quite a bit older. You know, I don't know what the first movie of hers I ever saw, but definitely like, stuff when where she was already like the age of a parent, like in her probably late 30s or 40s or something like that. I never saw any of her older movies. And then the first time I ever watched like Smokey and the Bandits, and she's like putting her legs up on the windshield, I was just like, whoa. Like I didn't know I didn't know about that Sally Field.
Yeah, it's funny because when we bought our TV last year or whenever it was, we got like 5 free movies through the Sony something app, Bravia Core or something it's called. And I almost like I never got around to figuring out how to like redeem them, but then I got a notice that like, oh, I'm gonna lose the redemption code or whatever. So I just went on there and we found 5 movies, and one of the movies that Dana wanted to save was Steel Magnolias. And that's
Yeah.
when Sally Field was a little bit younger. So I'll see what she's all about there. It's also a young Julia Roberts. Although I mean not that young, because when was like Pretty Woman was before 89, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, Julia Roberts is interesting. Oh no, 1990, so it was right before Pretty Woman that
Okay.
Julia Roberts was in it. But yeah, it's interesting. Like the big one that I forgot to put in that group of actors is Tom Hanks.
Yes.
I think he's like definitely out of all of them, he's the most like professional rock. Just such a reliable actor, and just he always works, always consistently good
Fantastic
work.
SNL host.
That too. Yeah, no, he's my favorite SNL of his is like the not that I've seen all of them, but keeps coming up again and again is when he does the redneck on
Oh my
on
God.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, on Black Jeopardy.
Black Jeopardy. Yeah.
The only white guy to be on Black Jeopardy.
No, that sketch is genius because it does the whole
So
thing of
good.
explaining how like rednecks and black people are so much alike that it's unfortunate that they hate each other to some degree.
It's so funny. It's such a funny sketch. That one is spot on.
Yeah, I mean, to go from like a comedy actor, I mean, I know he was trained as an actor early on, but like to go from a comedy actor to be like one of the greatest actors of all time, even though, yeah, I mean, you can't put him on the level of like Brando or like Daniel Day-Lewis of like, but as far as like being like a national treasure,
Yeah. And a box office draw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like the Tom Cruise of like adult movies in a way. Like he does
It's
some.
crazy that he's only 7 years older than Tom Cruise.
He's what?
I'm looking right now. It's crazy that he's only like 7 years older than Tom Cruise.
Oh, he's older than him? I thought they kind of came up at the same time in the 80s.
I think they did come up at the same time, but I'm saying he's only older by about 7 years. And if you put them side by side, it's crazy.
Yeah, that Tom Cruise looks better. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Tom Cruise is a vampire.
Yeah, but he's starting the show, and
I know.
the
well, okay,
dyeing of the
he's
hair.
He's not as much of a vampire as like Keanu Reeves or something,
or Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd is a Highlander.
I mean, Paul Rudd could probably star in a sequel to Clueless and still pass for like the same character that he played back then.
He said in an interview that a woman came up to him and said, has anyone ever told you look like the guy in Clueless? And he's like, I am the guy in Clueless.
Yeah. It's just on the Tom Cruise thing. Just a fun fact from like back when Mission Impossible Fallout came out.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise during the filming of Mission Impossible Fallout was, I think, 4 years older than Wilford Brimley was when he made Cocoon.
Well, that's how times change, right? I mean,
yeah.
Nowadays, someone who's 60 doesn't look the way someone who is 60 looked in the 50s.
Right.
I think it's like a very cultural thing. To some degree. I feel like people care more now to find various ways, whether it's the way you dress, dyeing your hair, or even going as far as like plastic surgery. Is to like to look young as long as possible. Whereas in the past, I think we just didn't. Like it's just like we kind of like as soon as we got into our 40s and 50s, it's like I'm an old man, so I guess I might as well dress like one.
Well,
You know?
it's also it's not one thing. It's like a dozen things. I mean, there's a lot better skincare technology these days. There's a lot more knowledge about what turns you into a leathery looking person. Plus, anyone who was 60 or older in the 50s and 60s went through like the Depression and a World War or two. You know,
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's
stress,
that as well.
lots of stress.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, I feel like those people that like age, but they stay in that phase for so long. Like my dad, I feel like he's looked the same for like 40 years because,
Wow.
because, and he looks still pretty good, all things considered, that he's like in his 80s. Um, I can only hope for me to reach that age and to be as mobile and active as he is. Like that's the
We
only thing
should
I can
all be
hope.
so lucky.
Like I don't give a shit what like what I look like, how much hair I have or what color it is. Yeah, and my dad used to dye his hair even though he was balding. I don't know what dyeing the hair would help. If anything, I would just shave my head before I would do that.
Looking at my grandparents on both sides, I don't think I'm going to be losing my hair when I get older. But if I start to, I'm just going to go the full Bruce Willis look.
Bruce Willis. Yeah, I mean, like Avi High type of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I would go for it. I would
just
go
embrace
for.
it.
Yeah, like if, first I'm gonna try the whole like receding
Cul-de-sac.
hairline that's still no, like just receding hairline that's still kind of popping up,
Ah,
sort of like a Mad Men
yeah,
type of like like a eraser head type of
yeah,
like a Jufro of sorts, just like it would
yeah.
keep going back and back. But once it becomes too ridiculous, just like my long hair eventually became ridiculous, then I would attempt the whole shaving the whole thing and see what it looks like.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
You can never know.
Yeah, it's funny. My dad's side all had the receding hairline, and my mom's side all had the bald patch on the back. So I was pretty convinced that like by the age of 38, I was either going to have a full head of hair or I was going to be Danny DeVito. So I guess I got the right genes there. Uh, but
Yeah, I think my kids are gonna be lucky because they have curly hair, which comes from Diana's side of the family, and her dad still has pretty much all his hair. So
Mm.
yeah,
it's just gray, which also works well if you're blonde, which they're not blonde, but when you're blonde, like when you turn gray, it kind of
Yeah.
like it doesn't look
Uh-huh.
that different.
Yep.
well, I also like my gray hair.
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel like it
I don't have a
makes
whole lot of gray, but
just wait.
yeah, no, but yeah, I definitely like the gray patches and everything. I mean,
Like
people at work still like when they meet me, they still think that I'm in my 20s for some reason until I tell them. But it's but yeah, I kind of appreciate having the little gray patches and everything everywhere. So uh, anyway,
Some of that might be the fact that you're working a job that a lot of people in their 20s would work. Like you're working a very physical job.
well, yeah, that too. But I also work with a lot of people who are in their 50s and 60s. So
Oh, yeah, that's true.
yeah, so um, yeah, it's pretty diverse. But
I feel
Yeah.
yeah,
like early on when I had like one or two hairs popping up in the front, I would like, get them off. But yeah, now that they're like all over the place, I sort of embrace them and I'm just waiting to see how it's gonna evolve.
well, I mean, think about come on, nobody cared about George Clooney until he went gray. I mean, until
Yeah,
until
it's
George,
just a transitional phase of like one hair with all black around it looks weird. But once you have like 100 of them, then it's salt and pepper. Then it's fine. Then you embrace it.
That's
Yeah,
probably
I
wise.
mean, like, yeah, I mean, when George Clooney was like, baby faced and like youthful looking, I mean, the best roles that he could get would be like guest appearances on Married with Children. Once he went gray, he was like the lead in ER. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, I saw like a video of from like it was like late 90s or something of Elon Musk getting like his first $1 million car or something when he sold his first company. He was worth like 100 million or something. Um, he he's like his hair is totally receding. Like there's no way. Sort of like Matthew McConaughey style. Like, and then because he became rich, he also just does like, I guess I should like fix my hair, get some implants, and to keep my youthful look. Because there's no way, like Elon Musk would not have the hair that he has. I wonder like what percentage of older rich males actually have like untouched hair, like just natural whatever hair they would have waking up in the morning.
I'm guessing Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, no, for sure. Although funny too, like James Gunn, like he had the whole youthful hair and everything, and then it feels like COVID happened, and then it all turned gray. And
That's
I
what he
feel he
said.
kind of well, but I feel like what he did is he did diet, but once he became famous and made it in the industry, and COVID hit, he said like, you know what, I'm gonna disappear for like a year or two. It's the perfect time to just show up with gray hair and say like, oh no, I wasn't dying it before. It's just that like it happened over the course of 2 years. Like
It's
I'm not sure.
possible, but I mean, it also happened to Johnny Knoxville. Like they were filming a movie, and there's footage of him with salt and pepper hair, and then COVID happened, and he's got like white hair now.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Whatever, people make their decisions, and it's fine.